Hello WWE world, this is Wrestle Talk Reality, back with the hottest wrestling updates. Subscribe now and let's break it down. What unfolded across SmackDown and Raw this week has left the wrestling world stunned, confused, and buzzing with speculation. In a moment no fan or insider saw coming, Jacob Fatu made a thunderous return, an appearance so explosive that it immediately changed the landscape of WWE, and the most shocking part, his target wasn't just anyone, it was Brock Lesnar, a man who has built an entire career on being untouchable. Fans are calling this one of the most dramatic returns in recent memory, a moment that felt personal, intense, and deeply rooted in history. Tonight, we break down every moment and explore why this ambush might be the beginning of WWE's next big era. The storm before the strike. SmackDown's main event was supposed to be straightforward. Brock Lesnar addressing his controversial loss at Crown Jewel, with the crowd electric and tension rising. Lesnar entered the ring with that familiar look of fury, ready to speak his mind. But something felt off. The fans weren't cheering the way they usually do. It was a strange quiet, the kind that comes right before something unforgettable. Lesnar was mid-sentence when the lights flickered, the screens glitched, and an eerie howl echoed through the arena. Suddenly, Jacob Fatu appeared on the Titantron, half his face in shadow and his expression colder than ice. He whispered just 3 words, "The bloodline remembers." It was enough to send a shockwave through the entire crowd and freeze Lesnar in place. Chaos breaks loose. Backstage. Moments after Fatu's chilling message, the cameras cut to the backstage area where chaos was erupting. Security personnel were scrambling, officials were shouting orders, and through the rising panic, Jacob Fatu marched with purpose. He didn't sneak in, he didn't wait for timing. He stormed through the guerrilla position with the quiet confidence of a man who knew exactly what he came to do. Within seconds, he pushed through the curtain and made his way into the arena, climbing the barricade like a man ready to confront a decade of frustration. The crowd rose to their feet as Fatu stepped into the ring and confronted Lesnar face to face for the first time. What followed wasn't a typical WWE brawl. It was a clash of pride, legacy, and long-buried resentment. The confrontation that redefined power. Lesnar, never one to step back, swung first, but Jacob Fatu met him head-on. The two exchanged heavy strikes that echoed through the arena, each one raising the intensity higher. This wasn't about a match, it was about a statement. Fatu gained control quickly, sending Lesnar off balance with a brutal headbutt and a perfectly timed superkick. Before the crowd could even process what was happening, Fatu drove Lesnar into the steel steps with fierce momentum. Officials tried stepping in, but the confrontation had already reached a boiling point. The audience watched in disbelief as Jacob Fatu made a declaration that resonated across the arena. "This is for the family." His message was clear, powerful, and symbolic. The moment ended not with victory poses or theatrics, but with stunned silence as officials tended to Lesnar. Social media goes into meltdown. Within minutes, social platforms ignited. Hashtags and reactions exploded worldwide as fans tried to understand what they had just seen. Some were thrilled at the unpredictable story. Others were outraged, unsure what Jacob Fatu's violent method meant for WWE's direction. One thing everyone agreed on, this was the most attention any returning superstar had captured in years. WWE later confirmed that Lesnar had been evaluated following the incident. While the exact details weren't made public, the message was clear. Lesnar would need time before returning to in-ring action. Reports circulated that even though he was shaken, he refused outside assistance. This wasn't framed as a medical crisis, but as a deeply personal moment of shock for a man rarely shown in a vulnerable state. How the locker room reacted. Backstage, the mood was intense. Superstars rushed to check on Lesnar once the situation calmed. Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso were among the first on the scene. Witnesses said Solo looked conflicted, unsure whether Fatu's return meant danger or opportunity. Jimmy, however, reportedly reacted with excitement, telling Solo quietly, "The family's back together whether you like it or not." It was a line that could reshape the entire group. Was Jimmy signaling a reunion, a new direction, or the rise of a faction more aggressive than the bloodline we knew before? Security escorted Fatu out of the building afterward, but he didn't leave quietly. With defiance in his voice, he declared, "The era of beasts is over. The era of blood begins." That statement is already being dissected by fans everywhere. Paul Heyman's unspoken fear. One of the most fascinating parts of the night wasn't in the ring, but backstage. Paul Heyman, longtime advocate, strategist, and master manipulator, was visibly shaken. Cameras caught him muttering under his breath, "Not again. Not another force I can't control." For years, Heyman built his career managing dominant figures, Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, and even Solo Sikoa. But Jacob Fatu, he represents something Heyman has always struggled with: raw unpredictability. Sources say WWE is leaning into a storyline where Heyman must choose between the legacy he built with Lesnar and a rising nightmare he fears he cannot control. Fans are now wondering, will Heyman align with Fatu or warn Lesnar about a storm too powerful to contain? The Beast's response and what comes next. Despite the setback, Brock Lesnar made it clear backstage that he didn't want any restrictions placed on Jacob Fatu. No suspensions, no fines. He simply said one thing to WWE officials: "Bring him back. I want him face to face." Lesnar wants a fight, one without shortcuts, interruptions, or blindsides, and fans are already calling this rivalry the next epic showdown. Not a feud, not entertainment, something more primal. The Beast versus the Samoan Werewolf. Two dominant forces colliding for pride, legacy, and control over WWE's power hierarchy. Jacob Fatu's rise and the new era ahead. In just a single night, Jacob Fatu went from absent name to the most talked about figure in the industry. Reports suggest WWE's original plan was to reinsert Fatu into the Bloodline storyline slowly, but the moment Lesnar's return was announced, everything changed. Fatu personally pitched a more dramatic comeback, and WWE approved it. The result was a segment that boosted ratings, ignited global conversation, and completely reshaped current storylines. Fans now see Fatu not just as a Bloodline member, but as a standalone powerhouse who could redefine the entire WWE landscape. What this means for WWE's future. For years, Brock Lesnar has represented dominance in WWE. He's been the standard of strength, intimidation, and destruction. But Jacob Fatu's return changed that. In one night, he showed that even the Beast could be caught off guard. And in doing so, he introduced a new era. One not defined by who has the most titles, but by who holds the most fear, power, and loyalty. This storyline isn't about revenge alone. It's about legacy, family history, and the rise of a force that refuses to be forgotten. WWE is entering a new chapter, uncertain, dramatic, and full of potential. And at the center of it all stands Jacob Fatu, a man determined to carve his name into the company's future.